I have been trying to start this episode and I just cannot come up with a good intro. I think it has something to do with the fact that this doesn't have a name. So I can't be like, hey, this is such and such. Welcome to episode 16. We're on episode 16. I'm not calling it Fear Me It's Brie because it just doesn't seem like it fits as a podcast name. So if anyone has any ideas, please send them my way because I just am kind of stuck on that. And I feel like my opener is the worst opener ever because it's literally just me being like, hi, welcome to my nameless podcast. Let's get started. So that out of the way, my awkward introductions that will continue to be awkward until I figure something else out. I have a few topics that I'm interested in talking about today, like the DOJ is investigating the supposed leaked Ukraine information, Riley Gaines being attacked by violent protesters, a violent mob, despite what everybody seems to think that they were peaceful and all that fun stuff. And then I am also going to talk about first Millie Bobby Brown and her announced engagement, because that's kind of a personal home-hitting story for me because Twitter is on fire right now. Some people are congratulating her, but a lot of people are saying, at 19, I didn't have any crap together and I was young and immature and this and this. She's going to regret this. Why would she do this to herself? 19 isn't an age to get married or be engaged. And I take a little bit offense to that because, like I said, I got engaged to my husband at 19 years old. He proposed on my 19th birthday, and saying yes is one of the best decisions I've ever made. And we're actually coming up this weekend will be our 5th wedding anniversary. And we're very happy. And we have children and we're still very happy. I don't understand why that's such a bad thing to settle down, whether you're 19 or you're 45, with the person you want to spend the rest of your life with and start a family. It's such a demonized thing. And I really think it's because of jealousy, in all honesty, but we'll get into that. So if you would like to follow and see the things that I post on Instagram or Twitter, you can at fearmeitsbre. And then you're already on my YouTube, and I have mines as well. I just don't use it very often. So if you find me on there and it's not active, I am probably still posting things, just not there because I kind of tend to forget that it exists. So awkward introductions over with. We're going to jump right into the Millie Bobby Brown, she's only 19 scandal. So someone had tweeted about this and I saw the tweet and I was like, yeah, that was exactly my thought as well. Is when I saw like the it's only 19 thing, I assumed it was some kind of weird Leonardo DiCaprio stuff where, like, you know, he's known for dating women until they turn about my age, and then he breaks up with them and goes back to like another 18 or 19-year-old or 20-year-old or whatever, because as he gets older, he just doesn't want his woman to age with him, apparently, so he keeps going younger. And it's a little weird. So I was worried. I was like, oh my gosh, who did she get engaged to if people are freaking out that she's only 19? And then when I looked into it, it's her boyfriend who's only 20. They've been together for at least like 5 years. I think they got together when she was like 14 or 15 and he was like 16. So like they've been together for quite a while, which in that world is rare for one. No matter how old or young you are, it's very rare to stay with the same person for more than a few years. So I pulled up a tweet here from Carrie Smith of Deprogrammed, and it says, look at all the comments here from people freaking out because she's 19, saying she's too young, that she needs to discover herself first. If you're a youngish woman who is buying into this narcissistic crap, allow me to share with you how many women in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who also bought into that crap experience anxiety and depression once they realize their dating pool is considerably more empty and their likelihood of having kids is diminished. Dear Sugars is a podcast, is most frequent question. Most frequent is for women in their 30s, 40s, and 50s when they'll find the one. This is a 2-part episode. Listen to it. I haven't listened to that, but I'm curious about it, so I might. And then she shared the tweet from Pop Bass where they also shared Millie Bobby Brown's Instagram post where she used the lyrics from the Taylor Swift song Lover to announce her engagement. I've loved you 3 summers now, honey, I want 'em all. So that's her with her fiance. They look adorable. I think that they're so cute. And then that's another cute picture of them, just sunset, beach, you know, stereotypical engagement pics, right? So we did ours in the fall, actually. So Ours were like fall foliage and fields, and like they were very fall themed, and it was really cute. They have the beach theme, which is also cute. So I heard that. So let's go back to what she said. What Carrie Smith said. I had a lot of that when I was 19 years old and came in to work like a day or two later. It might have been over the weekend. I don't remember how it all fell. But when I went back to work, I had people looking at me and, oh my gosh, you got engaged? Congratulations. And they were all sweet-see to my face, but behind the scenes, I'm not actually sure if they approved of it or not, because I was the only conservative in a very liberal work setting. So a lot of them had ideas of marriage that I don't agree with, or ideas of hookup culture that I was not a part of or agreed with. You know, I was the religious one that they were like, some of them were like, oh, we expected you to get engaged quickly. We just figured you would because you seem like the type, in a negative way to them, because I was the religious prude, putting it bluntly. So anyway, I think a lot of them thought that we got engaged just so that we could have sex, which it's like, okay, I mean, if you're waiting for marriage to do that, naturally progressing, you date, you get engaged, you get married, and you wait till your wedding night, then yeah, technically we are headed in that direction. But we chose to get engaged because before we even were dating, we were talking about, listen, I want this to end in marriage. Both of us did. And we discussed it. We discussed dating. We discussed our boundaries. We discussed what we thought was okay and what we thought wasn't okay. We discussed everything before we were even dating. We didn't wait until we were dating and then sit down and say, so boundaries, I don't think we should kiss yet. Oh, I was going to kiss you on the first date. We didn't have anything like that because we'd already set those things. We'd already talked about what was too far, what we thought was okay. The fact that we wanted to get married. We'd talked about children, how many kids we wanted to have. We talked about everything. There were literally no surprises in the dating. The dating was literally just us having fun during an appropriate period of time before we felt like, okay, we can take the next step now and get engaged. And then when we got engaged, we didn't want to be engaged for long because we were like, why prolong this when we already know, especially since we decided to wait until marriage, why prolong this and tempt ourselves when we can just kind of, not like, oh, get it over with and get married, but like, why would we prolong this when people would encourage us? You guys should have a longer engagement to think about those things. You guys should probably wait, like maybe be engaged for a year and see how you feel. If you still want to be together at the end of it, then go through with the wet. We already knew. So why prolong things? Why put that in front of us when we can get married and live happily ever after, to be cliche? So that's something that I feel like with Millie Bobby Brown, I don't know her. I don't know her heart. They have been together. Technically, they dated longer than my husband and I did. Granted, we've known each other our whole lives. So it's a little bit different there, I think, in some ways as well. Because like I said, we knew each other well enough from being friends our whole lives that we were like, we knew we wanted to marry each other before we even dated each other. But with Millie Bobby Brown, it looks like they've been dating 4 or 5 years at least. I really hope this works out for her. I think it's beautiful. I think it's sweet. And I think it's encouraging to see young love in a world where especially women are being encouraged to don't tie yourself down, don't start a family, wait till you're 35 to 40. You can have like 1 or 2 kids within those 5 years, settle down then, get all your wild oats out, go start a career, girl boss. And for me, it's like, what if the most girl boss thing for me to want to do is to get married and have a family and not be an entrepreneur and not be Chelsea Handler making videos at almost 50 about the day in the life of a childless woman and how great it is to try and convince myself that I'm not lonely and depressed. And I'm not saying if anyone is still single at that age that that's necessarily a bad thing as well. However, if like me, with my coworker who was encouraging me, why would you get engaged now? Don't you want to go to like Europe? Don't you want to see the world? Encouraging me to put what I saw as the path to my happiness. I had no desire to go out into the world, join hookup culture, and just hunt around for somebody while I'm partying, have a one night stand, and then never see them again and move on to the next thing. Why would I want to go take part in that culture when I have found my happiness and I have found my fulfillment in marrying the person that I am in love with? And like I said, I don't know Millie Bobby Brown. I don't know if this is going to work out. I hope it works out. I pray for her that it works out because, like I said, it's beautiful to see something like this. And this world that looks at traditionality and marriage as something to be thrown in the trash, I really hope it works out for them. I just don't understand why we cannot encourage. So, right, there was a time where the feminist movement was a little more mild in the sense, I think it was more in the second wave feminism, where if you want to go have a career, fantastic, you go be that rocket scientist. If you want to be a stay-at-home mom, you have the option to do that as well, fantastic, and do it. Now, if somebody is asked, so, I mean, I worked in food service. I've written about this. I have an article about it where I had a woman come in and just kind of start chatting with me about how I think she thought I was a new graduate. I wasn't, but I didn't have like any makeup on. And if you see me with like no makeup on in the uniform for what I was working for, I could probably have passed. I was like 21. I probably passed as like 18, I guess. So she ended up being like, oh, so are you planning on going to college? And that's why I assume she thought that I was much younger. And I had told her, I just kind of like let her say her piece. I was working on a night I wasn't supposed to. So I was kind of like, I don't want to talk to anybody. But I just was like, oh, be polite. So I was just like, oh no, I thought about going to cosmetology school and I didn't end up doing it because, you know, whatever. And she ended up going off on this tangent with me about how make sure that you don't think about settling down and having kids before you're 30. I'm serious. Like, she was very like, you don't want to tie yourself to a man. Women have to look out for themselves. You will be a slave to those children. And she just went off on this awful tangent where at the time I had been married for a few years and I had a son who was, I only had one kid at the time. My son was like a year and a half, maybe 2. I don't remember the exact ages and dates of all this, but I really do wonder if I just looked at her and been like, actually, I'm happily married to the love of my life and I have a child and I am here working right now because I am choosing to. I've done the working mom thing, right? I've been the mother who decided to pick up a few shifts for extra cash when her husband got out of work. She went in and did 5 hours at a restaurant, right? So like I've done that kind of thing. So I'm not putting down people who do. Or single mothers who have to be the breadwinner in their family at all. But what I'm saying is just this whole, it's cliche to say like, why can't women do both? Like, why can't they have a career and have a family? It's cliche that like, oh, get you a girl who can do both. But like at the same time, it's become you only get praise if you're an entrepreneur or a businesswoman or this. It's like, oh my gosh, that is such an accomplishment. Well, let me tell you, being a stay-at-home mom is hard too. It is a full-time job that you don't get monetary pay for. I mean, my husband doesn't stand there and be like, well, you watch the kids all by yourself from 9 to 5, so here's your hourly. But you get rewarded and paid in just the happy moments of motherhood. You have the stressful ones too, just like you would at a full-time job. You get rewarded. I guess it's the richness of a fulfilled life versus the richness of here's some wool fiber green paper that you can go buy a nose job with or get your cheekbones altered like all these celebrity women seem to like to do. So really, who's happier? The 40, what's her name said, the 40 to 50-year-old woman who's spent a ton of money getting her nose done, getting her cheekbones changed, trying to stay young and beautiful forever, and then turning around and realizing, I can't have kids anymore. Even if I wanted to settle down and get married, I can't have kids anymore. Or somebody like me who decided to get married young, because I was young and in love and very happy. I'm still young and in love and very happy, and started a family, and I have the joy and richness of that family. So just some food for thought. I do see there are people defending her and being like, listen, she's 19, she's happy, let the girl be engaged. And I hope Millie Bobby Brown looks at those negative comments and goes, pfft, because seriously, I just think it's so dumb that we cannot encourage women when women are happy being I'm not saying she's going to be a stay-at-home wife and a mother. That's more my situation, right? Why can't we be happy for women who choose a more traditional path? Why do all women have to be girl bosses? Right? So anyway, that's just something that I thought I'd start with. I found interesting. I'm very happy for her. I think it's super sweet. And I hope that they have a long and blessed marriage with one another. I think the next thing I'm going to jump into is the post-millennial article. The DOJ opens investigation into leak of top secret U.S. documents. So, gross. These are documents that were supposedly leaked, saying basically that Russia is winning over in Ukraine. I'm going to see if I can... No, I don't. Okay, whatever. I'll just read the article. I was going to try and zoom in on them if anyone wanted to look at them, but it tried to like reverse image search them instead or something dumb like that. So, let's start this article. After classified documents have been leaked online with details about Israel's Mossad spy agency and Ukraine's air defenses, U.S. officials are now working to find who might be responsible, and some have suggested it could be an American. Reuters reported that the topics covered in the documents, including deals in Ukraine, China, the Middle East, and even Africa. It's reported on Friday that it was likely Russian or pro-Russian actors who were behind the leak of military records, which apparently included partial month-long snapshots of the war of Ukraine. Michael Mulroy, I almost said Malfoy, whatever the guy in Harry Potter's name is. Michael Mulroy, a former senior Pentagon official, suggested the focus is now on this being a U.S. leak, as many of the documents were only in U.S. hands. I literally just said I didn't want to see that ad. However, it is not out of the realm of plausibility that this could be a pro-Russian operation, which would make it the largest security breach since WikiLeaks released 700,000 documents, videos, and various diplomatic cables in 2013. This investigation reportedly is in its early stages per the report. The Eurasian Times tweeted 4 photos of what appeared to be maps with various information concerning the war in Ukraine, saying secret U.S. plans for supplying aid to Ukraine ahead of an expected offensive were posted on social media this week, prompting a Pentagon investigation. Okay, anyway, here they are. These are the images. I can link the tweet as well if I think to in the description if anyone wants to actually read these. Pentagon investigating classified Ukraine war document leak. Secret U.S. plans for supplying aid to Ukraine ahead of an expected offensive were posted on social media this week, prompting a Pentagon investigation. So it has like assessed combat sustainability on both sides, like things like that. So back to the article. There have apparently been 2 U.S. officials who have not discounted the possibility that the documents have been doctored in some way meant to mislead investigators. As to the origin, which could ultimately harm U.S. security interests, per Reuters. The Washington Times reported that most of the documents detailed information that is already 2 months old. However, there were also documents labeled top secret, the highest security designation for any document in the country. Though many of the documents have since been deleted, there are those who have managed to download 60 papers per the report. The Department of Justice has apparently opened up a criminal investigation into the incident. The information is thought to be potentially useful to Russia and its allies in the ongoing conflict taking place in Eastern Europe. So that's interesting. I'm honestly not sure. So no one knows if it's real or not, but it does look like, you know, it's plans for U.S. aid to Ukraine, and it makes it look like Russia is doing a lot better than our government wants us to believe in the Ukraine war. So that was interesting. I'm not sure how that's all going to go, so we can keep an eye on that and see what we end up finding out. I will make sure that I link the article and that I link that tweet as well that actually had the blown up images of it so that you're able to actually look at it. The next thing I'm going to go into, today's episode is going to be pretty short. I don't have a lot of time today. I'm hoping to do another one tomorrow. I'm going to see how many I can get out this week. The next thing we're going to go into is Riley Gaines slams is it San Francisco State for praising peaceful protests where swimmer claims she was assaulted by trans rights activists. So Riley Gaines is like a women's rights activist. She's a swimmer. She's an athlete, and she does not want transgender women in her spaces because she recognizes that biological women and biological men have no comparison in competition when it comes to sports. So we're going to go into a New York Post article about that. Let me hop over there. So that's Riley. Swimmer Riley Gaines blasted San Francisco State University for praising a peaceful protest where she alleges she was attacked by trans activists after urging that transgender athletes be kept out of women's sports. Gaines, 23, she's younger than I am, threatened legal action against the school for its alleged failure to help her after droves of trans rights protesters pushed back at Gaines' controversial Thursday speech. Videos of the chaos shows dozens of protesters berating the former NCAA swimmer and 12-time All-American champ following the speech. Gaines claims she was punched twice by a transgender woman who was forced to barricade for hours in a classroom. Following the mayhem, Jamila Moore, vice president for student affairs and enrollment and management, emailed students, "It took tremendous bravery to stand in a challenging space," Moore wrote. "I am proud of the moments where we listened and asked insightful questions. I'm also proud of the moments where our students demonstrated the value of free speech and the right to protest peacefully," she added. After the statement was tweeted out, Gaines thundered, "I'm sorry, did that just say peaceful? I was assaulted. I was extorted and held for ransom." So here's some images from it. "The protesters demanded I pay them if I wanted to make it home safely. I missed my flight home because I was barricaded in the classroom. We must have different definitions of peaceful, which is something that we have seen time and again, especially with the BLM Summer of Love protest, where you literally had reporters being like, I'm here on the ground at these mostly peaceful protests, as there's like a church on fire behind him and just chaos behind him. So that's where the term fiery but mostly peaceful protest was coined. In the school's notice about the incident, Moore offers Gaines no apology and instead focused on the students' commitment to standing with the trans community and diversity. "I have no problem with peaceful protest. I actually welcome it. I was grateful to see a diverse crowd in the room during my speech, which I expressed multiple times," Gaines wrote. "We had great dialogue and listened to each other, but that ambush was the opposite of peaceful." Following the protest, the university's police department told the Post there had been no arrests and the school was probing the matter. "We are conducting an ongoing investigation into the situation," a spokesperson said on Friday. "The disruption occurred after the conclusion of the event, which made it necessary for UPD officers to move the event speaker from the room to a different safe location." Speaking with Fox and Friends Weekend host Rachel Campos Duffy, Gaines said she demands justice for the alleged assault, announcing that she was planning to sue the school. "The campus police did nothing. The dean of students was there and did nothing. There will be no repercussions unless I have something to do with it," she said. Gaines, a former swimmer at the University of Kentucky, has been a vocal critic of trans athletes participating in women's sports after competing against former UPenn swimmer Leah Thomas, with whom she tied for 5th place in a national swimming competition last spring. So I'm going to hop over here. I want to say this is the statement, the email that the dean put out that Riley Gaines was saying, "I'm sorry, did this just say peaceful?" where she tweeted about it because she was outraged by it, understandably. Her life was threatened. She was barricaded in a classroom by very angry, disruptive little protesters that wanted to harm her for just stating simple facts that biological males and biological women should not be forced to share spaces and compete with biological males in sports. So I will read that statement. "Dear San Francisco State community, today San Francisco State finds itself again at the center of a national discussion regarding freedom of speech and expression." I like that they tried to pin that as a freedom of speech thing. Their use of, the phrase free speech and freedom, expression, they're trying to cater to, well, aren't you guys in support of free speech? Okay, well, if you're barricading a woman and threatening her life, I think that that's a little further than free speech. "Let me begin by saying clearly the trans community is welcome and belongs to San Francisco State University. Further, our community fiercely believes in unity, connection, care, and compassion, and we value different ideas even when they are not our own. San Francisco San Francisco State is regularly noted as one of the most diverse campuses in the United States. This is what makes us Gators, and this is what makes us great. Diversity promotes critical discussions, new understandings, and enriches the academic experience. But we may also find ourselves exposed to divergent views and even views we find personally abhorrent. These encounters have sometimes led to discord, anger, confrontation, and fear. We must meet this moment and unite with a shared value of learning. Thank you to our students who participated peacefully in Thursday evening's event. Okay, sounds like they were incredibly peaceful, according to Riley. It took tremendous bravery to stand in a challenging space. I would say that to Riley Gaines. It took tremendous bravery for her to go there and be locked up for hours because she couldn't leave the room because they were threatening to harm her. I am proud of the moments where we listened and asked insightful questions. I am proud of the moments when our students demonstrated the value of free speech and the right to protest peacefully. You're proud of the moments where your students were threatening a woman over her stance on sports? These issues do not go away, and these values are very much at our core. This feels difficult because it is difficult. As you reflect, process, and begin to heal, please remember there are people, resources, and services available and ready to receive our Gator community, including faculty, staff members, coaches, and mentors who are here to support you. Campus resources are also available: equity and community inclusion, counseling and psychological services, Dean of Students Office, the well-being of the state. I keep wanting to say Florida State. The San Francisco State campus community remains our priority. Sincerely, Jamila Moore, ED, Vice President for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management. Just the fact that she never said sorry. Riley Gaines said, I have no problem with peaceful protest. I actually welcome it. I was grateful to see a diverse crowd in the room during my speech, which I expressed multiple times. We had a great dialogue and listened to each other. But the ambush was the opposite of peaceful. Dr. Jamila Moore, you wrote this. You write this. Do you need more video proof? Allow me. I'm gonna pause it because I guess it's just audio. I'm not gonna play it because I don't want things to be yelled in the video and get it taken down. The fact that nothing will be done about this means rule of law only means anything to leftists when they can wield it against those on the right, said Scott Moorfield. So, you know. Someone says, are you kidding me? What they did is not free speech. Someone goes mostly peaceful with a laughing face. Taylor Silverman said, Gators sounds like more like a crock of bleep. That's actually really funny. Not shocking, the Gators supported a water-dwelling predator. Also a tweet from Taylor Silverman with an image of Leah Thomas, who is the transgender, biologically male athlete that, you know, Riley was forced to compete with. Yikes. But yeah, anyway, as a woman, I find it very interesting. You know, you have that war of the feminists, the ones they call the TERFs, and they're just like the trans feminism movement where they're like, oh, I feel like feminism has become, what does it mean to you to be feminist, instead of having a clear-cut goal. Third and fourth wave feminism really have had no goals other than, I don't know, victimhood, really. Victimhood and all-inclusivity, and it's just very ridiculous, which is why we have actual hardcore feminists like that Posey Parker woman standing up against this kind of thing, because they're like, you know, we fought long and hard for women to be safe in their spaces and women to not be discriminated or put down by men, and yet here we are with men impersonating us, men taking over our spaces, and literally men infiltrating womanhood. So that's all very interesting. I'm going to have to leave it with that today and make this kind of a quick video, and I will hopefully be back on tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in. Sorry if this one was incoherent again. I had a little bit of an interruption with my kids, so I had to there's going to be a weird cut in the video because I had to go take care of a few things. So I will let everyone go. Have a great afternoon, and I hope that everybody has a great rest of their day, and I will see you all tomorrow.